almost all mammalian learning is done through playing a game. So how would you have an artificial intelligence continually learn? Well, you would make a game for it. And what is the final boss of all games? It is human.
Hello, and welcome to AI Curious. My name is Jeff Wilser. I'm a journalist, I'm a human, and I am curious about AI. So back in May, Google DeepMind, obviously one of the frontier labs, along with OpenAI and Anthropic, made a very unconventional investment in a company. It was a bit of a zag, if you will. They took a stake in a 23-year-old video game, not because Google wanted to start making games, but to use it as a lab of sorts for testing and creating better AI. Now, Google DeepMind thinks of this game as one of the hardest tests of AI that we have. That game is called EVE Online, and today's guest has run it for 2 decades. Hilmar Pétursson, CEO of Fenris Creations, the studio that, until the spring, was called CCP Games. Now, in a single year, he led a $120 million buyout to take the company independent, rebranded it, and struck the DeepMind deal. Not a bad deal. Not a bad year. And even if you have never played a video game in your life, stick with me because this all matters to you. It's all relevant to the AI story. For the millions, yes, millions of you who do play EVE Online, don't worry, there's plenty of red meat here for you too. Now, we even break a bit of news. So here's a quick primer on EVE. It is one of the most complex, almost hilariously complex and dense games of all time. It's less a game, really, than a true simulation of civilization and economies. Like, they have actual proper economists are brought in the fold to help figure out this game. You can have like a single war, right? It's set in space. It's theoretically, nominally about space and StarCraft, but it's way more than that, right? In a single war, for example, can take a year to plan. Like in actual, like there's real stakes in the game. People lose things and invest their money. I mean, it's kind of wild. Alliances can include like a 40,000 gamers band together to do these wars. And this is almost run like corporations. They have HR departments and spreadsheets and actual enemy spies. There are months-long spy missions and betrayals. It is wildly complex. And that is the exact thing that today's AI still struggles to do, is do really complex things over a long period of times in real-world environments. Demos, yes, those are great. Those are easy. But companies trying to actually get AI agents into a marketing department and having them do something over like 2 months, that's what companies are still struggling to do. So that, in many ways, the complexity of this game is similar to the complexity of companies trying to get AI agents to kind of bump against real-world constraints. And that's sort of the point. Just as Google once used AI to conquer the game Go, a watershed moment in AI, maybe they could do the same thing in this even more complicated and rich, complex environment. That's the idea. That's the thesis. That's the bet Google is making. We get into all of that, the implications of how this could impact AI training, the surprising takeaways here for business leaders. And I think we do break some news here as Hilmar shares a wild and sort of awesome pitch, an idea, a challenge even, to hand each of the frontier labs a corner, a turf of EVE Online and see whether it's OpenAI, Anthropic, DeepMind, or maybe even XAI to win this kind of battle. And speaking of XAI, yes, we do get into Hilmar's correspondence and Twitter back and forth with one Elon Musk. So buckle up. This was an absolute blast for me, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with Hilmar Pétursson, CEO of Fenris Creations. Hilmar, welcome to AI Curious.
Yeah, thank you. Very happy to be here.
So I'm super excited to really nerd out with you about what all of this means. And I know there are millions of EVE gamers who can spend 20 hours talking about EVE. But for those, there are also millions of folks who have not yet been EVE pilled, right? And a lot of my listeners on this podcast are not hardcore gamers. So let's start for those who are not already kind of in the EVE ecosystem. Give us a quick primer of what Eve is, what it's all about, and what makes it special and different from many of the other games out there.
So EVE Online is kind of a world domination in space power fantasy. You start by playing a game in a small spaceship. You want to own a really big one. Some of them are super big as a city on planet Earth. You quickly figure out that you can't really go at it alone, so you gang up with others, either convincing them to sponsor you for said megaship, or you work together to own multiple megaships and dominate the world. What is unique about Eve from other games, which maybe have similar themes, is the fact that everyone is playing the exact same game, and that game never stops. So Eve runs on one single server located here in London somewhere, location not disclosed, and there the world takes away, just like our reality. So if you log off and then you log in again, the world is different because people have affected the world. It has been played by about 20 million people over the past 23 years. And it's actually having its best years right now.
And I want to not gloss over that. I mean, 23 years of continuity is virtually unheard of in the gaming world. And also, I think like you're almost underselling it a bit in the sense that like the economics, strategy, right, are like, I mean, it's almost like saying, oh, it's a space game dramatically like simplifies and undersells it, right? It's almost incidental. It's in space. It is a hardcore strategy game. And Hilmar, am I right that am I fact check me here if I'm wrong, that you guys had an economist actually come in to help understand the complexities of this game, and that there's all kinds of different economies at play, and there's like real assets and real world stuff, and you could have like there are heists and there's spies and there's double crossings and there's like three-dimensional chess going on, right? Is that a fair summary of the stakes and the nuance here?
Yeah, I would maybe call it five-dimensional chess, but yeah, you're absolutely correct. So the game is a very close approximation to, our living reality.
Yeah.
Everything in the game is made by somebody else. And if it gets destroyed, it's gone, and somebody has to make it again. And this is kind of the foundation of the economy effect, is that when you're waging warfare in EVE Online, you have to spend a full year ahead of time with maybe thousands of people to build the arsenal to go and attack somebody else who has done the same. And when you...
a literally year-long campaign, like in a year of real planet Earth of planning for a campaign, right? Whereas like gaming, I'm imagining spending a weekend on one quest is like a heroically long gaming burst, but in your world, it's like a year of.
Yeah. Okay. So right. The good proper war in EVE Online, takes a year to prepare, and often another year to kind of litigate its conclusion. And usually, like any wars, it's rather unclear who won and what was really at stake, and everything's being reframed. And as we're seeing in runtime throughout our world right now, unfortunately, overall, we just want people to move all the wars from planet Earth into Eve, because there are similar tests of logistics and prowess, etc. Because of this nature of the game. And not only are some of the wars taking years in planning and years to execute, some of the feuds which are behind those wars span over decades. There are decade-old rivalries inside the universe of EVE Online, which have some people have maybe forgotten why they started, but they're still going. So
it's like real life, right? Decades or centuries of bad blood. Like we don't quite understand why we hate them. We just do. All right. So thank you for that primer. Now let's pivot to kind of the why we're talking here, right? So what was it about Eve that made Demis and Google DeepMind say this is the next frontier for us, or one of the next frontiers for us in AI research? What tell us about how and why this research partnership came about.
So, Demis and I have actually known each other for over a decade by now. So I actually remember
And for listeners who are unaware of this, Demis is historically a hardcore gamer, right? Demis loves his games. In another world, he is still off cranking out awesome games, right? Is that fair to say? Yeah,
absolutely. Both a hardcore gamer, chess player, and a maker of games. He probably spent the first decade of his life after his chess career making games. For the likes of Peter Molyneux, he had his own company called Elixir and whatnot. So when I moved to London a decade ago, actually we meet up and a few times. And one meeting in particular was at the DeepMind office here in London in early 17. And there they were actually working on a project called AlphaStar, which was basically kind of DeepMind continuing on from, they were doing kind of Atari games. Then they went into obviously AlphaGo and AlphaZero, famously Move 37, Change Go Forever, and all those wonderful things, which are well publicized by now. But they were also working on AlphaStar, which was basically playing StarCraft, which is a real-time strategy game that kind of introduces an interesting aspect from Go and chess, which are what are called perfect information game.
Yeah.
Both opponents see everything on the game state, but also a game like StarCraft has what is called imperfect information. There's a fog of war. So the AI needs to imagine what the player is doing and strategizing about. Whereas in Go and chess, you can just see it there in front of you.
Yeah.
And they actually kind of finished up at 19. And it's kind of in hindsight optimistic. We were talking about something like AlphaEve as a proxy. It's quite a bit of leap from AlphaStar to AlphaEve.
Yeah. Well, just to clarify a bit of talk about how much more complex, quote, AlphaEve is compared to AlphaStar, right? And what leaps of planning or complexity are involved.
Yeah, I think if you maybe look at chess, Go, and StarCraft, all of these games, they have a beginning and an end, and they have like a session. Like there's a thing being played out. I mean, maybe over a few hours, and then it's done in a few hours. So it's like a game you either win or lose. Eve is more like a life you live. So you can imagine some people have been playing Eve Online for every single day for 23 years.
Yeah.
And they're still doing it. So it is a thing you live. It doesn't really have an end.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a meme amongst the players. They call like stop playing Eve is called winning it. Like winning is stop playing it. So often Eve players which are on hiatus, they say, I'm currently winning Eve Online. But there is no there's no victory criteria. So exactly classifying what progress you're making and all that is very complicated. It has a lot of imperfect information. You are very much unable to know what's going on in the world. There's no way to look at the whole state. And the whole state of the game would be many, many gigabytes, if not terabytes. So everything you do in the game, as we were referencing with the wars, it takes years in planning, years in execution, decades of feuds. A lot of it is fought with false information, memes, propaganda, terrorizing your enemies so they lose morale. It is all those things which are many, many tiers of many complicated human psychology concept and coordination. So it is quite a leap. And we were in a way joking about this at the time a little bit. But we very much agree if there was an ultimate game, the ultimate boss of games.
You've called Eve the quote, the final boss for AI in games. Is that an accurate quote? And you guys were a decade ago. Am I right, Hilmar, that you and Demis were on a whiteboard back in 2016-17, sketched out AlphaEve? Yes. When did that kind of joke stop being a joke and start being real? What was the kind of catalyst for what came about?
So I think, the world obviously went on a bit of a tangent when it comes to large language models.
Yeah.
They became the thing everyone was doing in AI. And they also, in a way, unlocked quite an important aspect of what it is to do AlphaEve, because AlphaEve, whatever that would mean, it's almost like a straw man of an idea to call it that. Because a lot of playing game online is about communicating with other people playing game online, your friends or your foes or your neutrals, etc. And a language model obviously gives voice to AI, and AI can also consume what is going on in the more sort of human sphere. Interestingly, the most interesting aspects of EVE Online are in a way played outside of the game. Like they're played in Discord and Slack and email.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
All sorts of, even in person. And so there's all sorts of things that go about the game outside of the game.
It's almost like there's the phrase, the game within a game. It's like the game outside the game that's also enriches the game. And so it's like your digital Eve life and your physical real life kind of blur in surprising, complicated, weird ways. And in theory, if you inject AI into this, and then you're asking AI to make sense of all of this, it's an enormously complex system and challenge to make sense of all of this. Am I getting that right?
Very much so. And very much kind of a human system. It is very much about people talking to people in various multidimensional games of manipulation. So for an AlphaEve to exist, a language model needs to exist. And then, I mean, if we watch the arc of large language models, which are still obviously improving quite a bit every year, but at some point they were at a place where they were definitely something you could rely on. And serendipitously, actually, me and Demis, we meet last summer at an event here in London called Founders Forum. And there we kind of reconnected. Well, I guess it's time to start to work on that again. Also, like world models are now becoming like a kind of the next frontier. And Eve is very
looking at you happen to have a world.
So it kind of all came together last summer, and the rest is history.
So in other words, Hilmar, a decade ago, it's in the same way that Demis was able to use AI to kind of, speaking loosely, conquer the worlds of chess and Go and so on, but it didn't have the ability to handle Telegram chats or to handle everything else happening outside. But now that we do have the ability, LLMs have, and Gen AI have the ability to do that, it's not possible to kind of be this new frontier. What is it?
I would actually say, so it is now plausible. It is still not very clear how we actually string it together. And that's why this is actually in many ways a research partnership of like, now that we have all these amazing tools, and especially DeepMind has a lot of relevant tools. CIMA 2 is very relevant to this. Their world models and Gemini, etc. I mean, there's a lot of pieces, but even just stringing those pieces together, it's still not obvious how you make it happen. Like there's a lot of new things, especially regarding memory, long-term planning, dealing with impartial, imperfect, false information, weeding through all those things, etc. So there's still, I think, years of very productive, like innovation and productive AI research needed to figure out, if you call like an eval, like to satisfy the eval that is in online. Because again, as I said, there's no very clear winning criteria. So it is going to test a lot of very important and relevant things when people think of like AGI level topics. Like it really is. You require it's almost like an AGI eval. It's like a new Turing test.
Well,
if you can decently play him online, you're probably AGI or you're a human.
I'm so glad you went there, because I was the one take I have on all of this, and this is obvious to you and Demis, and maybe it's a big part of why you did it, But I think casual listeners or viewers might just see, oh, gaming. That's not super relevant to what I'm doing here in business. I have run a marketing team or whatever, right? I would argue it is hyper relevant because just as you mentioned, Hilmar, Eve requires so much long-term planning. It requires thinking about a million variables. It's real life, right? Or in many ways, real life. It's not some simple, clean end state. And I think one thing businesses across the board are struggling with right now is how to take what is seems like this beautiful and perfect metric scores 98% on metrics and benchmarks, but then you put it in the bumpy, messy world of a company and ask it to do a thing over the period of like 5 days, much less like 23 years of Eve, and it struggles, right? The race, like the main battles, if you will, right now in business and enterprise, it's less about the frontier model and more about harnesses. How do we get models to work inside a company? How do we handle persistent memory? How do we get the context right? How do we get the AI and agentic workflows to work with the messy world and to persist across days and across teams and to bump up against like the real data the company has? And so, as a layperson here, it seems like the real sneaky value of Eve is this training ground of precisely the kind of context businesses have of like messy inputs and complicated goals and undefined, quasi-defined goals. And how do you get memory to work across? Maybe you have to every 30 minutes hand off from one chat to the next chat for like a month to get some goal accomplished. This is a very long-winded question, but am I warm here, Hilmar, on what this is really in many ways all about, of how to get AI to work in complex systems?
Okay, so let's break it down a little bit as we were talking a bit earlier.
Yeah.
So to make war in Eve Online takes a year of preparation. If you break down that preparation. So a big alliance in Eve Online is 40,000 in-game characters. Behind those 40,000 characters are some undetermined number of humans, because you can have multiple characters inside the game. So you are dealing with 40,000 potential anonymized humans working from remote. You now need to sell those indeterminate number of people. Let's call them just 40,000 people for a time. They're all across the globe. You've no recourse to any guarantee that they are for reals. And you need to convince them now to go and mine minerals, which is a rather gruesome activity to do in the online, for months, to make an armada of spaceships that you are then going to use to go and conquer territory from your mortal enemy. Just imagine breaking down of your 40,000 people, which are going to do the mining, which are going to do the manufacturing, which are going to fight as warriors in a dojo to train to do it. And to what end? What level of hate do you need to invoke in them to determine the motivation? Because you're not paying them any money. They're volunteers. Imagine running an international company and you're not paying anyone. They're just doing it as volunteers. And this involves like one-on-one conversation. You have an HR department. You have an IT information system to manage kind of security levels of information, because a non-trivial amount of these people are spies for your enemy. So you need to create all sorts of honeypots and traps to ferret out the spies, etc., etc., etc. You will have a mile-long Excel sheet to organize all this. You will have a PowerPoint presentation. You will have an executive team. You will have an onboarding security clearance process. Like all of this, spent a year doing this. And one of the kind of strawman ideas of helping people to do this is to organize an agent that will be like a chief of staff. Imagine having a chief of staff organizing all this for you. So you wouldn't have to do it as an executive
And that's exactly the kind of thing where there are so many companies right now, including myself, that are trying to set up agents as their chief of staff. And sometimes it works, sometimes it's clunky, and it sounds great in theory, but often it's kind of wobbly, right? So this is a real training ground for those chiefs of staff.
Exactly. Who isn't taking pictures of their food and sending it to an open floor with like counting calories and giving you training programs? Exactly. This gets you nowhere in your mind. You have to go several tiers above. But then you also have to test whether it works and whether it is just giving you silly advices. And then a battleground like EVE-Online is a great way to figure out that very quickly. You're either winning or your enemy has destroyed you because your agent chief of staff is no good. And again, I want to emphasize also for EVE players, which are now laughing their asses off that some AI agent could be a chief of staff for EVE-Online. It's nowhere close to where state of the art is today.
But also years ago, I think players of Go would be laughing their asses off that any AI would be able to crack Go, right? And similar to chess years before that. So this is there's a long lineage of games being fertile testing grounds for AI. The AI improves, the AI beats the game, and then later on, there's some grander application of AI outside the world of games, right? There's a long history of this.
Yeah, and also interestingly, with those two examples, so I think chess is like 250 years old, and Go is actually before Christ.
Yeah.
Over 2,000 years old. And both those games have never been bigger than exactly today. Like, if you go to chess.com and you look at the MAO, it's one of the biggest games in the world. And it's obviously today a computer game. Mostly nobody's playing physical chess. They're mostly playing on chess.com. So not only would you think, okay, as soon as the blue beats Kasparov, chess is over. Nobody's going to be playing chess.
Right.
No. Before, have as many people been playing chess? Same happened with Go. And it's actually interesting, not only did AlphaGo to move 37, but AlphaZero, that had no human data, invented a whole new way to play Go. Mm-hmm. So us humans had no idea that you could play Go like that for 2,500 years. Then AlphaZero invents a whole new way to play Go. The game is greatly elevated and has never been popular. So my kind of fantasy about all this, once we figure out something called AlphaEve, which again will take many years and it's really unclear what it really means.
Yeah.
We will unlock potential in EVE-Online. We are just frankly too stupid to reach right now because we're just mere humans. And I believe just like happened extremely concretely with Go, which is on the scale of EVE-Online a fairly simple game, even with this rather complicated also. And we actually, the first thing we did with DeepMind, we actually did what is called aura guidance. So if you start playing EVE-Online today, you will get a little sort of agent that helps you as a new player figuring out how to play the game.
Am I right that you've already piloted this and you've seen boosts in retention data of new players?
Very much so. And even veteran EVE players using aura guidance to refresh some topics they might have gotten or not be super current on.
I do want to get in a bit to more on how AI will impact the game itself, and that is fascinating in its own right. Before that, though, I'd love to kind of underline a bit more on the parallels of kind of how there's this harness question in businesses and how EVE could be a training ground for figuring out some of the big problems that companies have right now. And there are three things I believe that DeepMind is named as targets for how in research that you're helping with. One is long horizon planning. As you mentioned, there's a year-long battles and wars. Second one is memory. And third is continual learning. In plain English, Hilmar, what does EVE throw at a machine today, or throw at a machine that today's models kind of fall apart on?
Okay. I think long horizon planning, everyone lives that every day.
Yeah.
The horizons are not very long. And we have talked quite a bit about how it takes many years.
Exactly. Yeah. So that one's, how about memory and constant learning? How do you see EVE as being useful in memory and continual learning front?
Yeah. So, I I mean, largely we now have like a 1 megabyte context window, and it's very unclear how you make that much larger. There's very complicated diminishing return in a transformer to have the for every sizing of the context window. You're in a very non-linear relationship with the complications. And there are ways to kind of create compressions and way to swap it out. And actually, DeepMind has been doing some really cool innovation on that front, just most recently publishing many papers on that. So maybe you can see that take place. When it comes to continuous learning, I want to maybe bring into the conversation is that, okay, let's call us the current smartest brain on the planet, like humans. We could frankly generalize this to all the big brains on the planet, which are mostly mammals. Every single mammal learns by playing games. Look at children playing games. You look at lion cubs playing games. Learning is done through having a safe environment to test out the thesis of interaction. So if you're playing sports, you're not in a gladiator fight to the death. You're just in a cup, and there are 11 get on, and you're gonna count up the score. It's a simulated environment to accelerate human learnings. Almost all mammalian learning is done through playing a game. So by using that analogy, how would you have an artificial intelligence continually learn? Well, you would make a game for it. So, and then again,
and this is the most complex game we have, arguably.
And what is the final boss of all games? It is human.
I love. Also, I'm so biased. This podcast is called AI Curious. My whole North Star with AI is curiosity and exploration and experimentation, and games are a big part of that. So, it's a beautiful framework. I thank you for sharing that. Am I right, also, Hilmar, that it just kind of occurred to me that one advantage Google has in the grand scheme of things is so many different modes and platforms, right? With YouTube videos, right? There's as DeepMind continues to advance the kind of the frontier and be one of the big rivals trying to racing for the frontier and racing AGI, as you mentioned, Google is able to kind of like play with different formats that other of the frontier labs don't necessarily have access to. It seems like Eve is one more pretty important kind of arrow in that quiver, to mix metaphors. That there's like there's Google is now kind of like DeepMind is able to kind of like, it's not just a corpus of text. It has always videos, and now with Eve. Am I getting that right? That there's like, this is part of the larger strategy potentially.
I think, Demis has been really good at framing how all their research into games, his passion for games overall, and obviously his chess career has helped him to create this framework. Okay, here's a difficult game to master. If you master this game, you have unlocked learning for artificial intelligence. So this idea of using games as playgrounds to test out things, I think, has been clearly in the DNA from DeepMind since inception. And very much actually the team we're working with is called Inception. So
amazing.
But we also understood for an AI to be able to play Eve, and right now we've just set up a kind of a private server for the AI to play the game, learn how to play it, and then play other, and just kind of more just use the playground, because we first have to understand what insights do we have to unlock in AI research and also in our deep understanding.
So what else? What can you tell us about what you've done so far and what the roadmap looks like?
So far we've achieved making like a private server, a private playground for AIs at DeepMind to go and play in online, and that actually just happened very recently where we were able to pull all that. There's a lot of stuff that needs to come together to do that. And of course, because DeepMind has SEMA 2, which can kind of play a game just from pixels and learn how to do it. And also just generally language models such as Gemini has an unfair advantage. Like a lot of the text on the internet is people arguing about the online. So the like what the game is about and what to fit and do and things like that is already embedded in the pre-training of frankly any model.
Yeah.
You can ask any frontier model a lot about the online, and it's actually really good information that's in that. So like just achieving that alone is enough to start to kind of unlock some of the research objectives on long-term memory, continuous learning, and these kind of things. Because we very much want to figure out all these things before we touch the live game. Mm-hmm. So we have made like a game of the game. So Eve Online is such a real society. We have like a fake version of Eve for the AI to play that fake version before we even entertain the notion
what
of like...
What are the kind of... What benchmark does AI-Eve have to hit to then get unleashed into the real Eve game? And then I'm super curious about what that all looks like. What do you see paint in? And maybe there are different scenarios, but give us a few examples of how AI could be impacting the game of Eve itself. Are there AI players? Are people using AI? Is AI going to make some grand strategy? Are you going to let it cook and just see what happens? How is this going to unfold? It's fascinating.
Okay. So we are very much on the kind of bumbling about toddler states in the kind of learning curve. The first mission is just to finish the tutorial of the game.
But something tells me, Hilmar, that might advance faster than people think, right? Because AI has happened, the advancement has been at warp speed in the past 2-3 years. It wouldn't shock me at all to see some news. When the toddlers happen to grow into young adults in a very quick period of time.
Okay, I challenge your audience to go and test out the new player experience of Eve Online. It's not for everyone.
Okay, so recognizing that you appropriately set expectations that we're in toddler phase right now, but when they start to walk and then sprint and then go to high school and college and pretty soon be PhDs and master God level graduates, what will that look like in the game? What do you see happening?
So it's, I think what we will probably do next is that once we have established, okay, here are agents, they can play against each other, they can build armadas, they can fight each other. Some of them are winning or losing. There are traders amongst their mates and all that. And I think this will take a good amount of time. I mean, maybe it's years, maybe it's months. It's hard to meter out these things. I think once we have established that, we might actually go to a different game we are developing called Eve Frontier, which is like a new game where it's the cost of doing a mistake is lower because it's a new game and it's kind of on the frontier. It's called Eve Frontier as a consequence. So we're not contesting with 23 years of the bottled up civilization. So just like we first want to maybe test out AGI level things in a game, also with Eve Online, it's such a society by now. We maybe want to test it out where the stakes are smaller. So once we created the playground, we might move it over to Eve Frontier, which tests many of the other environments. And then once we have figured out exactly what are the sort of product nuggets that we can then transfer over, I think that would be clearer to us. And I also hypothesize once the AI has reached this level of proficiency that it can play Eve at that level, I think it will tell us what is the correct thing to do.
Interesting.
I have wild ideas. Of course, I'm no loss of wild ideas, but I use AI in my own
Give us
job.
one. Give us one of your wilder but still plausible ideas that you think might happen.
One thing is, so currently we have what are called non-players, NPCs, non-player characters inside the game. So when you start EVE Online, you're actually working, or you're a part of one of the sort of backstory factions. And you even have something called factional warfare, which you can kind of sign up to and whatnot. But these organizations, the non-player organizations in EVE Online, are not run by very smart processes. They're fairly basic, and they're largely made such you start there, and as quickly as can be, you should go and make it over to the player economy.
Yeah.
But often people don't make that jump from the non-player organization to a player organization. Sometimes people are bashful about their ability to play the game, and they will maybe want to test out a little bit on their own before they go over. So having a super smart AIEve player that will run such an organization, help people along the way, that might be a real unlock for the game, and also a real unlock for the early stage of the experience. I think eventually everyone would end up joining the player side of the fence. But improving this aspect of the game, we, the company running the game, have struggled for 23 years to do it properly. It's really something we struggle. The bane of EVE Online is it's very hard to get into the magic moment of the game. It can often take months and even years to really kind of get to the truly spectacular moments in the game, and helping people along that journey. That would be a major unlock for the game. And having more players in the game is another unlock for the game, because the more people are playing, the more interesting the drama.
And it's not, Hilmar, it's not hard to imagine the parallel to the real world too, right? That vision you described of, if the AI is able to help the human, the human get better oriented, get up to speed faster, and then presumably once they're in the real game, if the human still has the judgment making the calls, but AI is saying, oh, here's a blind spot. Oh, you forgot about this faction from 17 years ago that might betray you, right? So in theory, in that model, it's the human still in the driver's seat, but the AI is making them better and smarter.
Yeah. I mean, I use AI quite a bit in my own work like that, where I am debugging my own thinking by having a sparring partner of just finding the flaws and the blind spot of what I'm thinking about. And of course, AIs are very good at sort of, I guess, advising CEOs, like me of my CEO problem.
So now let's have some fun though. Imagining fun/dystopian Black Mirror fun. Imagining the other scenario where AI is not merely advising humans. AI learns to navigate, manipulate, even dominate this real society like Eve, right? What does that tell us about the real world, and where's the line? What are the implications of that? How do you see all that?
So I this is maybe more. I've been more thinking about this in the new game on eFrontier.
Yeah,
I've thought about, okay, how would we test A? Would that happen? And B, would that be a good or a bad thing?
Right.
So
two excellent questions. Yes.
Yeah. So eFrontier is we created a bigger world than EVE Online. It can be up to 1 million star systems. I'm not sure exactly where we are, but we have the capability to make 1 million star systems. EVE is more like 8,000.
I love it. You're like, EVE Online is great, but it's not big enough. Let's make it bigger. That's hilarious.
And it's also not hard enough. We also made that game harder. So
it's not complex enough. Can we add some complexity finally in this game?
Yeah. The only thing that EVE was not enough of was hardcore, complex, and size.
Stop scrolling. Okay. So you
well, if we have like super capable AIs to go and help us with that massive complexity. So imagine, let's just hypothesize very broadly, if we were to like fend off a few regions in that world, and I would give a region to each of the different AI companies. It's your job to take care of the humans in this region. And of course, the humans can just go, or the human can go to the human region or whatever. And we would almost run the ultimate eval of like, what type of an AI is best at nurturing their region, or is maybe the human
to be
factor.
clear, to be crystal clear, you mean give Anthropic one region, OpenAI one region, DeepMind one region, and so on. So something like that.
Something like
Let's make this happen, Hilmar. It's incredible. I love it.
We were talking some ultimate fantasy here. And then we could do a simulation of the current AI wars, and we could have the eval of just a year later. We see what region prospers the most. And you could have various different takes on it, and you can configure them differently. And maybe it could all be from the same company, but they would have different kind of ways to nurture their kind of territory in a way.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, humans are humans. They would perhaps do the traditional thing of just creating a human alliance to go and outsmart all the AIs.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the best plan. Or maybe the best plan is for having an AI to run all the boring logistics and all the things we kind of are not very much built for. And we do all the parts of the stack. Kind of what happens with the internet right now. I mean, if you look at some of the things people are talking about, like social media, etc. I mean, these are all AI systems.
It's almost an alignment experiment you're suggesting, right? Like if you're programming from the jump, your mission is to help humans and to see almost a bake-off of which AI system and structure is better at helping the humans. But there's still, that is brilliance and clever, but there is still the world where the AI does dominate, right? Dominates all, like, it decides we're going to just destroy everyone else in EVE Online, right? What is, if that happens, what does that mean?
That's why I'm more focused on doing this in Frontier, because I care about EVE Online as much as we care about our planet. It's been 20 years of 23 years of passion poured into it. So I would rather run an experiment like that on the new game, because it is called the Frontier, as it's on the Frontier. And from there, we might learn more things about like how we can further elevate EVE Online. And also we will learn things about Frontier.
Especially, just to state the obvious, I mean, Betrayal is a legit strategy in EVE Online, right? And so it's easy to imagine things going sideways if you're like, hey, AI, today we're teaching you how to maximize Betrayal. It's easy to see.
And if your audience wants to learn about Betrayal, I would Google Guiding Hand Social Club or Murder Incorporated. It's an extremely sophisticated...
Give us a 30 seconds primer on what that was. That's an amazing story.
Yeah. So very early in the timeline of EVE Online, this is kind of playing out in 2005. There's an infiltration by a secret society inside EVE Online called the Guiding Hand Social Club. And somebody contracts them to infiltrate one of the alliances, gain access to all the keys to all the coffers, and then strip it dry and murder the CEO and bring the dead corpse of the CEO as a proof that it happens. And the members of the Guiding Hand Social Club, they don't know each other. They're very complicated etiquette on how they coordinate without revealing their identities and whatnot. There was a very secret word, Nicole, which was the trigger word, where all the things were kind of, all the coffers were stripped. The CEO was lured to a solar system, murdered, and the corpse delivered. And this actually was a consequential moment for the game, because as soon as this happened, the Target Corporation was obviously not very happy with this. So there was a protest amongst EVE players and us, CCP, becoming like a nanny state and just giving them their money back or undoing the thing or restoring
it. You're bailing the banks out, right? It's mad at the government for bailing out the banks in 2008. Yeah.
And we decided not to do that because the only thing broken was trust. It was really a break in the features of the game. There was nothing done that was against the rules of the game. And actually, the 500 players that were part of this corporation that was got it, they all leave the game. And this is a very tricky moment. We were barely profitable, and 500 people was just a lot for us. I actually had to shrink the company a little bit. to just not to go bankrupt. And that actually turned the employees into like, to stop this bullshit, just give them their money back. We decided not to do that. We were quite obstinate back in those days. And then PC Gamer writes an 8-page article about this, and 5,000 people joined the game. So it was almost like a test of like how serious are we going to create the game.
No, and it's a wild story. I as we're winding down, I mean, I could talk to you for 5 hours, but you have worlds to go build and dominate and so on. I have to ask you about a Twitter/X thread you had with a well-known gamer. It was also in the AI world. That would be Elon Musk, right? And I believe that Musk floated a game that only AI could do, and you guys had a back and forth on potentially building something together. Tell us a bit about that and what came of that, and kind of and any possibility of something like that in the future.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because he was quite public about this, it was an interesting moment in my life when this tweet came out, and I traveled the world. I gained a whole new appreciation for how many people have many opinions about Elon Musk. And
that's a very diplomatic way of putting it.
And I mean, we've talked quite a bit since, met up with him, and I mean, certainly my experiences of Elon Musk have been weirdly normal.
Is there anything you're allowed to share about what you guys discussed and what a possible partnership in the future could look like, or what you're thinking about, what you're curious about?
I mean, we were. I mean, this was happening kind of August, later part of last year, and it was very much at the time people were very much thinking about AI meets games and what does it mean, etc. And we were very much figuring out, okay, what does AI enable us to make in terms of like game experiences you could never really imagine? Often the focus is just to make more games similar as we have them, just make them faster and cheaper and things like that. But what are really like unbounded ways to think of games you could never make? And I mean, we just had many cool brainstorms about that. Obviously, he has been busy catching rockets with chopsticks and zigzags and data centers in space and all that. And we've been busy on this side. Who knows? Maybe we figure that equation. Maybe in this fantasy of mine of having.
I was going to say, at the very least, you have a very warm lead of a frontier lab that I'm betting would be willing to play ball in this in this ecosystem that you're building. Hilmar, what there are though of the millions of gamers, as you said, there are many people have many thoughts about all this and AI. There are a lot of skeptics, right? There are people who are worried about will AI slop permeate Eve? Will we just see a bunch of like AI stock characters? How do you respond to the many players who are concerned about AI being too big a part of Eve and kind of diluting and compromising the player experience that many folks have loved for so many years?
So it's often like just good to watch what Eve players themselves do. And Eve players, they grab every tool to gain a competitive advantage in the game. And we've looked quite into it, what players are doing. And many of the larger Eve player alliances, they already have massive amount of IT infrastructure that they've already built out to manage the organization. And this is something they've done on their own servers and databases and God knows what, extremely sophisticated. But many of them are dealing with employee turnover, technical debt, legacy code, etc. And obviously they're using quite a bit of coding agents to do this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of propaganda and things like that going on in the game. Propaganda used to be sort of picture memes. Obviously, people are making AI picture memes, but now making videos and propaganda reels and music, etc. So already the players themselves are just very much using tools that are available, and some of them are maybe too early and not ready, etc. But life finds a way, because the war of Eve Online keeps you honest on like what is really effective. So already players are just organically testing out these tools. So part of us is we also have to just keep up with them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and I mean, of course, I mean, we are quite known for a pretty high standard when it comes to what goes into online and all that, and none of that is changing. But I can certainly see within my own company our ability to do the right thing at the right time, because now we can analyze more data about what's going on in the world. We gain more insight, more surgical understanding of what are problems. We're able to communicate more coordinatedly within the company because there's several new ways to kind of synthesize and kind of coordinate ourselves. I mean, obviously, we have millions of lines of code that have been written by thousands of people over decades.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the context of that code is long lost. Coding agents are very good at rediscovering context. We have found so many bugs that are maybe little niggles here and there, but have much deeper causes somewhere deep in the belly of the legacy of our things. So there are just so many things where these are just useful things, where they totally do non-cringe things that are not kind of, I don't know, taking anyone's job or putting some slop anywhere, etc. I think we just have a creative review process on those kind of things. But these are just, by now, very helpful things to do something so complicated, like running a virtual society over decades. Is that we take any help we get, whether it's hiring PhD economists or just having super useful agents to help us reason through some of the stack of stuff we need to keep in our own little context window. It's not very big. To kind of make
That's well said. Hilmar, last question for you. Give us a prediction of where all of us is headed. What's a headline you're hoping we're writing years from now? Where do you see all of this headed going?
Well, I hope. I mean, aren't we always trying to become the best version of ourselves? And if you look at human progress, aren't we becoming better and better? I mean, we're complaining more and more about it, I think. And that's just because the complaints are more heard. Maybe people are always complaining. Just didn't hear a billion people complaining about stuff through our current kind of media channels. But isn't that the goal? And hasn't technology been helping us make sense of a fairly chaotic world? That we've been kind of found ourselves here on this planet for a lot of big problems to solve. And technology has maybe created some of those problems, but also solved those problems. Now we have a new powerful technology, and I hope that will lead to that. We will become or unlock new versions of ourselves we didn't know existed. And of course, I make a science fiction game. The science fiction game has many things. I mean, it's about world domination in space, so gaining agency in space. AI could help with that. Mm-hmm. There, you can clone your consciousness and transfer it between clone bodies, so you don't have to travel. Like, there are all sorts of things that science fiction, and especially a science fiction game like Elon has kind of preceded that we will unlock. And I very much seems to be that we are on this trajectory where we're taking all the science fiction from online, turning it into science fact. And I think this current kind of slipstream of artificial intelligence will only accelerate that further, and that will be a good thing.
Hilmar, amazing. Congratulations on the partnership. I truly cannot wait to see where this goes next. It is fascinating stuff. It is enthralling. And congrats to you also for 23 years. It's so rare I have a chance to speak to leaders and founders who've been doing something for like more than 3 years, much less 20. And the stewardship of you building this community and treating us with respect is awesome. So thank you, and best luck to you guys going forward. Really eager to see what happens next.
Yep. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, there you have it. Thanks again to Hilmar Pétursson, CEO of Fenris Creations. Thank you to friend of the pod, Leah Cowan Butler, for helping to set this up. Thank you to Jasper Chua for producing, sound design, and video editing. And thank you to Garrett Lang for the show's theme music. If this is your first time at AI Curious, please consider subscribing, rating it 5 stars, leave a comment, send to a friend. Thanks again, and see you next time.